Yes, little champions, I welcome you all to score 99% in 99 days. Today is day 74, where we are going to do the next sample paper, and here I am going to exclusively teach you the questions from biology. So let's see how many marks does biology hold in your 10th standard. So if you see, there will be 9 questions of 1 marker, 3 questions of 2 marker, 2 3 marker, 1 5 marker and 1 4 marker. If you do the simple math that you have over here, you get 30 marks just out of biology. So this is something huge. So you should be knowing that in science, in grade 10th, biology has to be given more priority than physics and chemistry because the number of chapters are more. Cool. Now let's get into section A, where you have got 1 marker questions. It will be including both MCQs as well as assertion and reason question. So the first question that we have over here is this: gastric juice is secreted by gastric glands and contains hydrochloric acid, mucus and pepsin. Which activity will be affected in the absence of hydrochloric acid? What will happen if hydrochloric acid is absent all of a sudden? So my dear children, what is the use of HCl being produced in the stomach? What is the use of HCl? It is creating an acidic environment. And why do you need an acidic environment inside the stomach? Because the enzymes which are going to break down proteins, they say they will be only active if there is an acidic environment. So that is the role of HCl. It provides an acidic environment so that the inactive enzyme pepsinogen can be converted into active enzyme pepsin that will be further acting on proteins and breaking them down to peptides. So for this enzyme activation, you need an acidic medium, and that is provided by the hydrochloric acid. So what will be affected if hydrochloric acid is not being produced? Digestion of proteins. Straight 1 mark. Okay. Now the next question that we have over here. Rajesh noticed that a potted plant kept in the window of his room shows bending towards sunlight. This could be due to what reason? Okay, if it is going towards the sunlight, my dear children. So this is suppose the stem part, and it is moving towards the sunlight. Bending always happens. Why? Because the auxin hormones, which are uniformly distributed, no, it moves towards the area where there is shade, where there is no enough amount of sunlight. When the auxin moves towards one side, there is too much amount of auxin towards one side, whereas there is no much amount of auxin towards this side. So auxin, when it is accumulated, what happens? The normal cells, it keeps on elongating. The cell elongation takes place, and you only think if cell elongation is taking only in one side and the other side the cells are small, what will happen? Slowly they will start bending, my dear children. Okay, it will start bending. That is the reason for it. So more growth in the well-lit region due to diffusion of auxin hormone? No, it is not more growth in the well-lit region. Well-lit region will be this side, right? If it was like this initially, the sun was like this, well-lit region will be this side. But from here to here, auxin is moving towards the area where there it has shade. So more growth in the region away from the light due to diffusion of auxin hormone? Yes. More growth in the well-lit region? No. More growth in the region away from the light due to diffusion of cytokinin hormone? No, children, it is auxin, and auxin is responsible for cell elongation. Cool? Next question. The lining of the alimentary canal has certain muscles that contract rhythmically in order to push the food forward. The process is called. So this is rhythmic. Okay, the alimentary canal as in it starts from here. Okay, so which the esophagus. So the food goes down. We swallow the food. After that, it is not under our control. The food goes down. This is under involuntary control, my dear children, and this movement is known as peristalsis. What do you call it? Peristalsis. Nothing else. No translocation, transpiration, autotrophism, nothing. It is peristalsis. Okay. Now, what do we have? 11th question. A cross between pure tall and pure short pea plants gives hybrid tall pea plant in the first generation. What would be the genotypic ratio in the offsprings of the second generation if the F1 plants were self-pollinated? So first of all, we have to have the pure tall plant, that means capital T, and pure dwarf plant, that is small t, small t. The gametes will be capital T, capital T. Here the gametes can have either small t, again it can have small t. This and this fuses, you get capital T, small t. This and this fuses, you get capital T, small t. This and this, capital T, small t. This and this, capital T small t. If you see all of them, my dear children, they have one capital T with them. So this capital T will show its effect. It is dominant, so it will show its effect. It will be all tall. Now, if I am doing selfing, if I am crossing F1 plants, this is the F1 generation, the first generation plants. Okay, so I have to take one capital tall T, capital T tall T, and I have to cross it. The gametes can have either capital T from this pair, or it can have small t. Similarly, either capital T or small t. If I fuse this with this gamete fuses with this gamete, you get capital T, capital T. This fuses with this, you get capital T, small t. This with this, capital T, small t. This with this, small t, small t. So over here you see, this is tall, this is dwarf. As there is no one to overshadow this effect, it will be dwarf. Both are dominant. Okay, here also it will be tall. Both of them, they will be tall. What are you asked? You are asked about the genotypic ratio. How is the genetic makeup looking? So if you see both capital T, capital T are there is one such thing. There is one such thing which has capital T, capital T. There will be two which has capital T, small t. And there will be one that has what? Small t, small t. So what is the ratio? 1:2:1. This is the ratio. Cool? Easy question, no? Yes. Now, during exhalation, when we breathe out, the gaseous exchange or the exchange of gases takes place between what? Tell me. The gaseous exchange takes place between what? Alveoli of lungs and blood, alveoli of lungs and tissue fluid, blood and body tissues, and then what do we have? Tissue fluid and blood capillaries. What do you think is the answer for this question? So, during inhalation, during exhalation, whatever you do, the alveoli which are there in our lungs, they are surrounded by blood capillaries, my dear children, and the blood capillaries will be having blood cells. And the blood cells might be having CO2, which they bring back from all the different body parts, right? From all the different body parts, you get a waste, and that is CO2. CO2 is coming over here. The CO2 will move from a region that has higher concentration to a region that has lower concentration. So CO2 will get inside over here, and the CO2 is something that we give out. Get it? So exchange is happening between the alveoli of the lungs and the blood which is there. The blood which is there. So this is the blood that we have. Okay, blood is formed of plasma as well as cells. In the plasma also you have CO2 in dissolved form. In the cell also you would be having CO2. From both of them you get it back. Now what is tissue fluid? Tissue fluid is basically, for example, there are group of cells. In between these cells there could be some fluid. You call this as tissue fluid. So that has nothing to do with this. So it's directly between blood vessels and the alveoli, nothing else. So this becomes the answer. Cool? Chalo. Next question. If all organisms of one trophic level in a food chain die, what would be its impact on population of organisms in another trophic levels? So suppose you had plants, and these plants are eaten up by goats, and goats are being eaten up by lion. Suppose lions, all of them, one trophic level, organism of one trophic level is dying. What would be the impact on the population of the organisms in other trophic levels? Basically, if it dies, the population below it, the goats will have no one to be eaten up by. They will keep on increasing their number. And here you don't find tiger, lion is only there, okay. So here the number will keep on. So yes, their number keeps on increasing, okay. That is the thing that will be happening in this particular trophic level. And if they are increasing, obviously the other trophic level will be affected. Goats will be eating all the plants up there. So you see lots of problems are going to happen, but remain the same. Okay, what is the question? What will happen if this is happening? Remain the same in the next trophic level. What remains the same? Okay, organisms in the next trophic level also remain the same. No. Increase in the next trophic level. How can they increase the next trophic level? The one that comes above it. Will they increase? Because they do not have food here. So how will they increase? Increase in the lower trophic level. Increase in the direct lower trophic level. If you see the organisms which are there, they will keep on increasing. Yes, the number increases. So this is the correct answer. Remains the same in the lower trophic level? No, my dear children. If their predator is not there, they will keep on increasing. Okay? Chalo. 16th question. The chemicals that are non-degradable get progressively accumulated at each trophic level, and their concentration is seen maximum in the bodies of top consumers. This phenomenon is known as, okay, so basically you are saying, for example, you have small fishes, then big fishes, then you have humans, okay, and you have zooplankton, and you have phytoplankton. So, suppose phytoplanktons are affected with some chemicals, okay, there are some chemicals and it is being totally uptaken by this particular guy. Now, phytoplankton have this, zooplanktons will be eating so many phytoplanktons, so obviously the chemicals which are there, it will be passed on to the next generation. And I will also tell one more thing, the phytoplankton is not able to process the chemical that it has in its body, okay, the chemicals are still there, it is not getting broken down because it is what? Non-degradable, my dear children, it is not degradable. So, it is keeping on accumulating and this guy is having all the phytoplanktons. Now, you have too much amount of chemicals over here in zooplanktons. Now, these zooplanktons, so many of them will be eaten by small fishes. So, obviously, small fishes will be having more amount in them also, way more than this, because it was about one zooplankton. But they are having multiple zooplanktons, obviously they will be having more. Similarly, small fishes will be eaten up by big fishes. Big fishes will be eaten up by human beings. So, if you see, my dear children, the chemicals, it is not getting broken down. If it was getting broken down, it was fine. But it is getting accumulated and it is keeping on increasing. Now, you will see the maximum concentration in the body of the top consumers. This phenomenon will be known as biomagnification. There is too much amount at the top consumer level because it is getting magnified. Okay, the amount of chemical is getting magnified and it is resulting due to something that you call as bioaccumulation. So, bioaccumulation is the reason it is getting accumulated, which is why it is getting magnified also. So, do not go for this answer, please go for D. Okay, it is biomagnification. This is just the cause, but this is the whole process. This is what it is known as. Yes. Now, we have the assertion and reason question. Assertion says, a lot of difference in the concentration of ions was observed by scientists between fluid in the xylem cells of the root and that of the soil. Okay. So, yes, the xylem cells which are there in the roots, okay, and the soil, it will have too much amount of ion difference. The soil will initially have too much amount of ions, my dear children. It has to be taken up by the xylem. So, this is true. Xylem cells in the roots of the plant which come in contact with the soil actively take up the ions. Do they take up the ions? Yes, they actively take up the ions because they say we need ions for our functions. So, ions are being actively taken up means the plant says that I am ready to give ATP, just give me so much ions. With the help of ATP, it spends the energy, it spends the money, that is ATP, and says that ions you have to come. That is, even though I have taken so much ions, still I want more. That means already I have higher concentration of ions. I have taken it initially, now I have higher concentration, still I want more and more ions, my dear children. So, what do you call this? You call this as active transport. You call this as active transport. So, lot of difference in the concentration of ions was observed by scientists between the fluid in the xylem cells of the root and that of the soil, and xylem cells in the roots of the plant which comes in contact with the soil actively take up the ions. Both of them are correct and both of them is a correct explanation as well. Cool? Chalo. Next question. All kitchen waste cannot form compost. Yes, in kitchen you have lots of waste. You would be having plastic waste also of the things that you had probably made and things like that. Okay. Now, material like milk packets may not be biodegradable, obviously they may not be. So, that is why assertion and the reason is true. Assertion basically is being explained by the reason. I cannot put all the thing into the compost because why? Because you have non-biodegradable things as well. So, assertion and reason is true and the reason is the correct explanation of what? Assertion, my dear children. Now, section B, which is 2 marker questions. Let's get started. Let's see them. Name the reproductive and non-reproductive, no, not productive name, non-reproductive part of rhizopus. What is rhizopus, my dear children? The bread mold. The green color thingy that you see on the bread, no, if it is kept in moist environment, that is known as bread mold. So over here, what do you have? The rhizopus, it looks like this. Okay, so this is known as mycelium, and mycelium is made up of bunch of hyphae, my dear children. This is also made up of hyphae, this is also made up of hyphae, everything is made up of hyphae over here. So hyphae, can I say it is a non-reproductive part of the rhizopus? Yes. What about the reproductive part? Over here you see this structure, this is known as sporangium, my dear children, and sporangium has so many chutku spores. These spores are the reproductive units. These spores are the reproductive. So when the sporangium bursts off, the spores will be moving around. Okay, and suppose the spores lands on a very moist environment. The spore will be giving rise to a whole new rhizopus just like this. And suppose it is not landing in a favorable condition, it will stay like that because the spore itself is protected by multiple layers, you get it, so that it does not get damaged. And whenever a favorable condition comes, it keeps on. That is why you can all of a sudden you can expect some bread mold coming on the bread from nowhere. So how are the spores protected till they begin to grow? They have multiple layers to protect it. They have thick covering. Okay, they have thick covering. So I hope you got the answer. The reproductive part is sporangium. The non-reproductive part will be hyphae. How are the spore protected? Because they have tough coverings. Non-reproductive parts are hyphae and reproductive part are sporangia, which contains the spores. The spores are covered by thick walls that protect them until they come in contact with moist surface and begin to grow. Easy question. Now, amount of urine produced generally decreases in summers as compared to other seasons. Okay. If we don't keep ourselves sufficiently hydrated, justify. So why do we not frequently urinate during summers? Because in summers we are losing a lot of water in the form of sweat. My dear children. And if you're losing water in the form of sweat, won't your body need enough amount of water? Yes, which is why what happens, even though the water moves into the nephron from the blood vessels. From the blood vessels, it definitely moves into the nephron. But what does the nephron do? Nephron sees that, hey, in this person's body anyways the water is less, I have to give back this water. So the blood vessels which are there running around it, okay, it selectively reabsorbs water molecules, my dear children, such that it is not lost. And whatever waste is there, that is being removed out in the form of urine by the nephron. But whatever is needed, it is given back to the blood vessels itself. So this is the reason. Okay. How do you frame? Amount of urine produced is regulated by selective reabsorption in the renal tubule of the nephron. It depends on, wait. I have to talk about the nephron. Okay. So this process of where you are selectively taking things back, what do you call this process as? You call this process as selective reabsorption. And what is this particular portion known as? This is known as PCT, proximal convoluted tubule, where maximum amount of selective reabsorption takes place, my dear children. And it is dependent. Selective reabsorption depends on how much water content you already have in your body. Okay, how much water content you already have in your body, how much dissolved waste you have in your body. Dissolved waste you have in your body. Suppose the blood is having too much amount of ions. There is too much amount of ions, so it will create a hypertonic situation. This point of time, to make it proper, to make it in equilibrium stage, what will happen? The water will be taken in so that it does not create too much concentrated condition over there. Okay, so that is also a reason how water is being, on what basis is the water being taken up. So depending on the excess amount of water we have and what amount of dissolved waste we have, on that basis the water is being taken up. And during summers basically we tend to lose lots of water in the form of sweat, which is why it is really important that we drink enough amount of water and the nephron takes back the water that is there, okay, by the process of selective reabsorption. Now, it depends on how much excess water is there in the body and how much dissolved waste is there to be excreted. In summers, more water is lost due to sweating. So, there is more reabsorption of water by the body to maintain the osmotic balance. Otherwise, osmotic balance would not be maintained. Now, one question. What is the advantage of having a 4-chambered heart in birds and mammals? So, what is the advantage, my dear children, when you talk about a 4-chambered heart? Okay, suppose this is the right atrium, this is left atrium. This is left ventricle and this is right ventricle, and this is what the, oh my god, and over here you have the lungs and over here you have the body part, suppose. So lungs will transport blood into left atrium. What blood? Oxygenated blood, the blood rich in oxygen. This blood will go to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it goes to the body parts. Now, the body part says, I have got oxygen, I will give you back carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is taken to the right atrium. From the right atrium, it goes to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it goes to the lungs for oxygenation back again. Get it? Since we have separate things, there is no mixing of blood. There is no mixing of blood. Why is it important? That is the question. Because, my dear children, even over here, if you are having mixing of blood like amphibians or reptiles, what will happen? You would not get enough amount, the body parts would not get enough amount of oxygen. And if there is no oxygen, respiration, do you think it will happen properly and give rise to more amount of ATP? Glucose would not be able to oxidize properly to give you more amount of ATP. And if there is not more amount of ATP, will you be able to maintain a constant body temperature? Your body temperature will keep on fluctuating if you do not produce too much of ATP. ATP height is a high energy yielding process. If you want to maintain a constant body temperature, you should be having too much amount of ATP also. Why do we need to maintain a constant body temperature? Because all the enzymes in our body needs a proper temperature, then only they will work, otherwise they will stop working. You get it? So everything is kind of linked, which is why we should be having 4-chambered heart. So both us as well as birds, aves as well as mammals, my dear children, both of them are homeothermic. We maintain body temperature, a constant body temperature, which is why we need too much of energy and also too much amount of oxygen for that. So this is the advantage. So this prevents oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. This allows a highly efficient supply of oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. This is useful in animals with high energy needs such as birds and mammals to maintain a constant body temperature. You have to talk about that as well, point by point. Okay, so for all the points that you saw over here, you are getting marks. So half marks for this, half marks for this, 1 marks for this. So you have to be very specific with your answers. Cool? Chalo. Next. Section C is 3 marker questions. State any 3 reasons to justify the use of contraceptive methods. Contraceptive methods are for contraception, that is for preventing pregnancy to happen. Okay. Example of contraceptive methods, condom is a contraceptive method, my dear children. It does not allow the sperm and the egg to meet. So it does not allow fertilization. If not fertilization, then no baby. So it is acting to prevent pregnancy. It will also protect against diseases at times. Okay, for example, not all contraceptive methods will help you give protection against sexually transmitted diseases, but at least one, that is condom again. Okay, so that is one thing. Apart from that, what do you have? To control the population and the birth rate as well. Otherwise, it will keep on increasing. If it keeps on increasing, we would be fighting among ourselves for the resources. Even though at this point of time, we might think that no, we will not fight. But actually, I am telling you, we would be fighting if the resources are very much limited. You get it? After all, we all are animals. Yes. So 1 marks for each, and you get 3 marks. Okay. Next. Given below are some disorders noticed in some patients. It could be due to malfunctioning of which part of the brain? Okay. Loss of sensation of feeling full. I think I have got that. Okay. So anyways, whenever after having food also you are not feeling full, then which part of the brain is getting affected, my dear children? So I hope you know that it is the hypothalamus which is present in our forebrain, which is responsible for hunger, thirst and everything. So probably this part of our body is getting affected, which is why we have lost the sensation of feeling full. Now lowered ability to salivate. Now salivation as in the formation of saliva. Okay, the ability of salivation is lowered. Who controls it? Who controls all the involuntary action of our body? The beating of the heart, the pumping in heart rate, this, that, everything, salivation, vomiting. Everything which is not under control is being controlled by a part of our hind brain. And what part of our hind brain, my dear children? If you have heard of it, it is medulla oblongata. This is the one that controls the involuntary actions like salivation as well. So, if you have lowered ability to salivate, that is probably because you have some problem with the medulla oblongata. Okay? Your heart rate, everything is being controlled by this guy, so please remember that. Now, difficulty in maintaining the posture and balance in the body. I always say this is a fun thing. For example, some person who got drunk, okay? The alcohol affects one part of the brain. Which brain? Hind brain. And this part is known as cerebellum, my dear little children. Okay, cerebellum. I always remember L. The L is straight. So, it is affecting, okay, it is helping actually for posture and balance, but if it is affected, you do not get posture and balance. So, cerebellum, not brum, cerebellum is the one that controls this. So, obviously, this is getting affected, which is why you are not able to maintain the posture and the balance. Cool, if you are written like this, you got the answer. So, yes. So, here they have not mentioned hypothalamus, you can mention so. Cool? Chalo. Section D for 5 marker question. Let's see what's in stock for us. So, over here, the flow of energy in a food chain is unidirectional. Justify the statement. The flow of energy in a food chain is unidirectional. Yes, because we follow something that is known as 10% law. That is, for example, you have plants. Plants are being eaten up by rabbit. And rabbit suppose is eaten up by snake. So, over here first thing first, the sun's energy is being captured by the plants. The plant will utilize some of its energy obviously for itself, and it will give just 10% of it. Why? Some part of it will utilize, some part of it will be lost while you are transferring energy from one organism to another. So, obviously, this flow has to be unidirectional. The one that has less cannot give it back to the other organism. Right? Otherwise, it won't, this particular thing would not be stable. Get it? So, which is why it is always unidirectional. The one that captures the energy by the sun will be having the highest one, so it has to pass it down to the other organism. Cool? Now, in a cross between pea plants, okay, I'll see the answer first. How do you frame it? Let's see. Okay? So, the flow of energy is unidirectional food chain. The energy that is captured by the autotrophs, that is the one that prepare their own food, that is for example plants, does not revert back to the solar input, and the energy which passes to the herbivores does not come back to the autotrophs. The energy that has gone to the herbivores, that is for example rabbits, it cannot come back to the plants itself. As it moves progressively through various trophic levels, it is not longer available to the previous trophic levels. As it follows 10% law, my dear children, please write it somewhere. I don't know why they not write it. Okay? So, you write it. Okay. Now, in a cross between pea plants having round green seeds and wrinkled yellow seeds, what progeny is expected in F1 and F2 generation? What would be the impact of the ratio of F2 generation if F1 plants inherited a single whole gene set from each parent? Give reason for your answer. Chalo. First part first. In a cross between pea plants having round green seeds and wrinkled yellow seeds, what progeny is expected in F1 and F2 generation? Let's see. I think there is a typo error, so this is round and yellow, and this will be wrinkled and green. Okay. Now you see. So, because yellow is the dominant trait, which is why I am saying. Okay. So, over here you have round and yellow parent, and you have wrinkled and green parent. So, how do you write round and yellow? You write like this. They are pure also. So, you write like this. Okay. And here you have wrinkled and green. So, you have to make chota r, make small r, which are like this, and green, which will be represented like this. This is the recessive character, which is why you are going like that. This is the dominant traits, which is why you are going like that, and they are pure also. So, it has to be RR and YY, capital R, capital YY. Now, what are the gametes that will be formed? I told you always remember like this. Suppose they have 2 pair of chromosome. Here it is capital R both, and here it is capital Y, capital Y. One among them will be going in the gamete. One among them, suppose this goes, it will be this. Whatever goes, it will be capital R, capital Y, that you will be finding in the gamete, my dear children. Over here also, from this pair, small r, small y, whatever you do, small r will be coming, small y will be coming. Now this is the gamete. When you fuse the gametes, what do you get? Okay, this chromosome comes together, this chromosome from there comes, this chromosome from here and the other chromosome from there comes together. How do you write this? Capital R, capital Y, small y. Okay, this is the F1 generation, my dear children. In F1 generation, all of them are round and yellow, because round is dominant and yellow is dominant. So it will be what? Round and yellow. Cool. What about F2 generation? For F2 generation, we have to cross them. That is, a plant like this and another plant like this. So here now the parent will be capital R, capital Y, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. Similarly, another parent, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. How do you make it in the gametes? Always remember, here capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. From this pair one can come, from this pair suppose Y came, okay. Again from this pair one can come, from this pair this time this chromosome can come, smaller one. From this pair this chromosome can go, so I can write like this, and from this pair this can go, so I will write like this. From this pair again small came, and from this pair this also small came. So how many gametes can I expect? There will be 4 type of gametes, my dear children. Capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y, small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. Similarly, gametes will be there as well. You will be finding gametes there also. Now we have to make a cross. How do you make a cross? I will be removing this. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can take. Okay. And write the gametes. So you have capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y, small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. Similarly, write it like this here also. Y, capital R, small y, small r, capital Y, and make 4 columns. This is for your understanding, okay. When you cross this and this, capital R, capital I, capital Y, capital Y. When you cross this and this, capital R, capital Y, and then small y. This with this, capital R, capital Y, small y. This with this, capital R, capital Y, small y. You see all of them are round and yellow. Similarly, you have to go around finding each and everything. When you now finally cross this and this, you will get small r, small y, small y. Okay. Now what happens randomly, I am telling you. If you cross this and this, what do you get? Capital R, capital Y, small y. Again round and yellow, because one R, capital R is there, capital Y is there. What about crossing this and this? So you get small r, capital Y, capital Y. This is a new trait. So over here this was round and yellow, and this is what? Wrinkled and green. This is wrinkled and green, the parental type. Okay. This is something new. Wrinkled and yellow you are getting. Instead of wrinkled and green, you are getting wrinkled and yellow. This is a new combination that you get. Apart from that, there is also one more combination. Let's see. Suppose you cross this with this. What do you get? Capital R, small y, small y. So this is what? Round and green. So you started with round and yellow, and now you are getting round and green. Round and yellow you started with, but now you are getting round and green as well. So if you talk about, if you take the whole ratio, my dear children, okay, there will be so many of them being produced. Okay, please understand, this is also round and yellow. A genotype like this is also round and yellow, because there is no one, and here also it is round and yellow. There will be, and this is also round and yellow. So you have so many genotypes saying round and yellow. So how many of them will be round and yellow in total? 9 of them. What about wrinkled and green? There is only 1 among them. What about wrinkled and yellow? There will be 3 of them. Here also there will be 3. So, new combination there will be 3 in number. The older one, dominant one will be 9 in number, and the wrinkled green will be 1 in number. I am not talking about the genotypic ratio, I am talking about the phenotypic, how do they look. So, I have so many of them who looks like round and yellow, 9 of them, 1 of them who look like wrinkled and green, 3 and 3 of them which are the new combination. So, 9:3:3:1 is the answer for this. Again, want to take a screenshot, you can take, okay. So, what was the question? In a cross between pea plants having round and yellow seeds and wrinkled and yellow seeds, what progeny is expected in F1 and F2 generation? So, in F1 generation all of them are round and yellow, in F2 generation you have 4 of them round and yellow, and then instead of round and yellow you write round and green, new combination. Wrinkled and green was there, so now you write wrinkled and yellow. So, how you don't need to make the whole thing, okay, just understand you are talking about round and yellow seeds and wrinkled and yellow seeds. Wrinkled and green seeds, just understand round and yellow is dominant, okay, round and yellow is dominant. So, F1 generation will be round and yellow, the dominant trait will be expressed. The next generation all the different traits will be expressed, okay. Now, what would be the impact on the ratio of F2 generation if progeny, F1 progeny plants inherited a single whole gene set from each parent? Give reasons for your answers. So, if they are getting a whole gene set, so if you are getting the whole gene set, that means there won't be any change. Okay, there won't be any change. For example, capital R and small r is there. And capital Y, small y is there. If all of them are going to get this, and if all of them are going to get this, basically there won't be any new combination that you are going to see. One whole gene set you are getting, that means round capital R will be always with capital Y, small r will be always with small y, but it was not like that when we were making gametes, right. When we were making gametes, it was not like that. Capital R was going with this, capital R was going with this also, which is why you found newer combination. So, give reason for the answer. So, let us see the answer, how they have written it properly. So, F1 generation all round and yellow, F2 generation round yellow 9, round green 3, wrinkled green 3 and wrinkled yellow 3 and wrinkled green 1. If progeny plants inherited a single whole gene set from each parent, then the ratio 9:3:3:1 will not be obtained. You would not be seeing this new combination. This is because the two characters R and small y would then be linked to each other and cannot be independently inherited. What do you mean by independently inherited? For example, if this was the case, either from this pair only one had to go, either this or this, from this pair only one had to go. It was independently assorting. He did not say that I will only go with capital Y. So, this cannot be seen. If the whole set is going like that, then you cannot find independent assortment, my dear children, which is the law, third law of genetics. Cool. Now, how does blood sugar level get regulated in human body? How does blood sugar level get regulated? My dear children, in our blood, if the amount of glucose is way too much, the pancreas in our body will be releasing insulin, which will be taking this glucose and forming what? Glycogen out of it. Glycogen out of it. So, this is known as a feedback loop. Okay, this is known as a feedback loop, where what is happening? The level of glucose increases, insulin is being released, makes it down. You get it? That is how it works. All the glucose molecules which are there, it is converted to glycogen and stored in the liver. Okay, so again, how do you frame this answer? Let us see. So, over here, okay, I have mentioned in a different. When sugar level in the blood rises, they are detected by the cells of the pancreas, which in response produces what? More insulin. As the blood sugar level falls, insulin secretion also gets reduced. Okay, when the glucose level goes down, obviously you do not need insulin, right. So, that level is also reduced. The timing and the amount of hormone to be produced or secreted are regulated by feedback mechanism. Only if it is way too much, that is when insulin is produced and makes it less. If it is way too less, the other hormone comes into play, and that is known as glucagon. And what does glucagon do? Glucagon will be breaking down glycogen back into glucose because the blood sugar level is probably down. At this point of time, glucagon plays a major role. It takes that, hey insulin, you captured my glucose and converted into glycogen. Now I will be coming and breaking all the glycogen down back into glucose. Not all, basically a few. Okay, whatever is needed. That is how it is being controlled. So, it is a feedback mechanism that is there in the body. Now, No. Okay. Yes. Which hormones is secreted into the blood when you are under stress? Name the gland that secretes this hormone. It is when I am under stress. Okay. At this point of time, for example, a tiger is there in front of me. I'm kind of very stressed. I'm scared. What should I do? Should I run away? Should I stand here? Should I fight back? Adrenaline is being released. What is being released? I'm sorry for being so dramatic, but yes, that's how I am. So adrenaline is being released and it is being produced by adrenal glands. Okay, adrenal glands are the ones responsible for producing adrenaline. Okay, how does this help the body to cope up in an emergency situation, my dear children? So basically what happens, okay, so when we have to run, my dear children, the muscles should be getting enough amount of blood because the blood carries oxygen and the oxygen will be helping in production of ATP. Suppose the blood vessels are producing blood still to more amount to stomach for digestion and things like that. I don't want that to happen now. I want more blood to be coming over here. So adrenaline goes and says to the blood vessels that you have to get constricted, you have to get narrowed down, and the blood vessels which are there in the muscle cell, it will dilate it so that more blood will be going that side. So the blood that is going here is redirected to, it's not like totally no blood goes here, okay, some amount of blood will be going towards that side now. Why? Because that is dilated and this is constricted. Similarly, our heartbeat keeps on increasing. Why? Because our heart is made to pump lots and lots of blood so that each part of our body, wherever it is required, it will get enough amount of blood, oxygenated blood for the production of ATP. Okay, so that is how it will be helping us in emergency situation. So how do you write this answer? Adrenaline is produced by adrenal glands. It acts on heart beats faster, resulting in more supply of oxygen to skeletal muscles, the one that is required for running away. Okay, and breathing rate also increases because of contraction of diaphragm and rib muscles. So that is also going to get increased because if you are not breathing, my dear children, you are not taking in oxygen, and this oxygen will get dissolved in the blood and go to the heart and get distributed all throughout the body. So both the things will be happening, and apart from that, as I said, vasodilation, vasoconstriction is also a part of it. That also definitely takes place. Okay. Chalo. Section E, that is the last question that we have over here. Let's begin. Which chamber of the heart, 6, 7, 8 or 9, 6 is this, 7 is this, 8 or 9, pumps out blood to the lungs for oxygenation? Any guesses? Blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Listen, my dear children, this thing that you see, it is the left atrium. This thing that you see over here, it is the left atrium. This is the left ventricle. This thing that you see is the right ventricle, and this thing that you see is the right atrium. So lungs, which is there, it is going to pump the, it is going to transfer the blood to the left atrium first. From the left atrium, things will go to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it will go to the body parts. From the body parts, the blood is going to come back again over here and gets into the right atrium. From the right atrium, it goes to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it goes to the lungs. It will be going to the lungs back. So this is the 7th is a 1. Okay, 7th is the one that will be pumping the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Okay, identify and name the blood vessel that carry blood to the lungs. Very much interesting question. Okay, so for you to remember it always. Okay, is there some other question that I need to explain? Just a second. Okay, just a second. Identify the structure at number 12. Number 12, where is number 12? Here. This is number 12. That is in between right atrium and right ventricle. You see this thing, flap like thing. What is it, children? This is valve. This is valve. And what does it do? I will tell you the answer right away. What does it do? So basically what happens, that right atrium will be pumping the blood to right ventricle. Right atrium pumps the blood to right ventricle. Now over here, if this blood which is there has to go to the lungs, obviously they also have to pump. And if it pumps, if the blood moves back, then who will maintain the pressure and what blood will go to the lungs? So for that, for preventing the backflow, what do we have? We have valves over here. And what do you call this valve as, which is there in between right atrium and right ventricle? We call this valve as tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve. Okay. Now, why do chambers 6 and 7 have thicker muscular walls than chambers 8 and 9? So, these are both ventricles, LV, RV, both ventricles, and these are atrium. Why do they have thicker walls? That is the question. Okay. So, let us start solving all the questions together. This is right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, lungs, body parts. Okay. Lungs will be giving blood to left atrium because left atrium says, oh, bring in oxygen. So, this is oxygenated blood, my dear children. Now, left atrium and right side are their dushman. Okay. So, from left atrium things will only go to the left ventricle. From left ventricle it will go to the body parts. Now, the body parts will take in all the oxygen and will give what? Carbon dioxide. In return, carbon dioxide as a return gift. Now, A comes before V, so atrium will come before ventricle. So, body parts, from body parts things will be going to the right atrium. From right atrium it will be going to the right ventricle. Now, it does not have an option to go there, but now this deoxygenated blood has the thing that has more amount of carbon dioxide. It will be going back to the lungs so that oxygenation, exchange of gases can happen there, and again you can supply the blood. Now, who is who? What is the blood vessel that is there? Always remember, the one between the lungs and the heart will be having pulmonary word. So, this is also some pulmonary, and this will also be some pulmonary stuff. Now, always remember one more thing. Arteries carry the blood away from the heart. Veins carry the blood towards the heart. So, over here it is carrying towards, so this will be pulmonary vein. Over here it is carrying away from the heart, so it will be artery, an artery. I will tell the name of the artery. Okay. Now, this is carrying blood towards the heart, so it has to be again excuse me, I am so sorry, this has to be a vein. Now, over here this is going to carry the blood towards the lungs, towards means it has to be towards the lungs, okay, away from the heart, it is taking away from the heart, so it will be what? Artery again. Okay. So, pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein, here that is sorted. The one between right ventricle and the lungs, it is pulmonary artery, and the one between lungs and the left atrium will be pulmonary vein. Now, who is this artery? What do you call this artery? This is the biggest artery that we have, which is known as aorta, my dear children. Okay, it is what? Aorta. And over here, the vein which is there, you call this as vena cava or vena cava. What do you call? Vena cava. You have vena cava coming from your superior part of the body, that is upper part of your body, and from the lower part of your body. The upper part, the one that collects, you call it superior vena cava. The lower part, the one that collects, is known as inferior vena cava. Both of them will be opening into the right ventricle. So, this right atrium, this is the scenario. Now, you have what say valves over here as well. Valves which does what? They prevent backflow of blood. So, blood which comes here will be going there, and when it is pumping the blood to the blood vessel, obviously there are chances that blood can move back. So, to prevent that, what do we have? Valve. The one that comes between right atrium and right ventricle is known as tricuspid valve. Tri as in right, tri word is coming, so right, and this will be known as bicuspid valve. Okay, done. Now what? Apart from it, so there will be valves here also. Here also there are chances the blood vessel which goes, it can also come back. So here also you have valve. Okay, similarly here also you would be having valve, so that it does not come back. Both the area from where the blood is exiting from the heart, you will be having valves. Cool. This is known as aortic valve, and this is known as pulmonary valve. Aortic because aorta is there, pulmonary because pulmonary valve is there. Sorry, pulmonary artery is there. Okay. Now, why does ventricles have thicker muscular tissue than atrium? Because, my dear children, they are the ones which directly pump the blood either towards the body parts or towards the lungs. So obviously, to have that pressure, when they are pumping the blood, they should be having that pressure to withstand it as well, right? They should be having that, not pressure, they will be having lots of pressure, which is why they should be having lots of strength to withstand it, and which is why they have higher or thicker muscular walls than the right atrium and the left atrium. Get it? That's all. With this, we have solved all your questions. Now, there was certain names. So, number 12, okay, why do chambers, identify and name the blood vessels that carry blood to the lungs. The one that carry blood to the lungs matlab away from the heart, and if it is lungs, then you should be having pulmonary word, and it is taking away from the heart, that means it is an artery. Cool? So, that is all. Now, this part. Identify and name the chamber that receives oxygen rich blood and name the blood vessel which brings in. The oxygen rich blood is received by what? The first chamber, that is left atrium. Who brings in the blood? Again, it is between lungs, so it has to be pulmonary, and it is towards, so it has to be a vein. Okay. So, name the blood vessel which brings in, I told you the name as well. I am getting the next sneeze. Now, state the significance of separation of right and left side of the heart as seen in the figure. Why do we have a septum in between? Why there is a separation in between, my dear children? Because we do not want mixing of blood. Okay, I told you recently, okay, in this particular video only. Why do we not want mixing of blood, my dear children? Because we need to produce too much amount of ATP. Okay, so if mixing of blood is there, that means oxygen is going to mess up. If oxygen is not there, ATP will be down. If ATP is down, can we maintain a constant body temperature? Can we maintain a constant body temperature, my dear children? No. This is why we need a proper difference between right and the left side of the heart. Okay, yeah. So, let us read. Left atrium, pulmonary veins. Okay, the separation of the right and left side of the heart is useful to prevent mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, and hence this will provide more oxygen and more energy for the maintenance of constant body temperature. Okay, and everything else I have already explained you. There is nothing left behind. Valves, why do we have? So that blood does not flow backwards when atria or ventricles contract. Left and the right ventricles have thicker walls as compared to the left and the right atria. They have to pump blood out of the heart. They pump blood at a higher pressure to ensure that it reaches all the parts of the body, which is why they have thicker walls. That is all. And with this, we have completed sample paper 5 as well. My dear little children, please take it really seriously. These questions that I have solved is very much important. So, do not take it for granted. Watch the video properly. Write the answers, okay, if you are finding it difficult to learn. Okay, some questions might be difficult, so write it there. These questions you have to revise back. Okay, you don't need to write the answers, at least write the questions so that you can come and revise back later on. Write the question number. Okay, in this particular sample paper, this question number was difficult. So, it will be really good for you. And if you think that this video was good, you have to comment below my video that the video was good, or if you have any feedback, whether it be negative, do let us know. We are here at your service. So, that is all, and subscribe to our channel, that is Diksha Vedantu, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.